Hey everybody, welcome to the Boomband Showcase. I'm your host, Jeff Taylor. We got a great set of guests today. I can't wait to jump right in. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to the Boomband Showcase. How we doing?
Hi guys.
Yay. Oh, wonderful.
I'm so excited. I see a couple of you were at our holiday party. We had a virtual holiday party, and I think both of you got recognized. Casey, you had this incredible jacket on. And I guess, Geanine, do you want to share kind of what you had on?
Oh, most festive. I had some gnomes, which went with the theme, and, a little dancing dog, all kinds of fun stuff for the holidays.
Yeah, and I
really
think you had something on your head too. That was some stars or something.
Yeah, it was either the antlers or the snowman paws. Either one, I have both.
Yeah, that's great. And Laura, I want to make sure we include you here. We just had this virtual holiday party, and we got to know Casey and Geanine and invited them to be on the show. So, Laura, welcome to you as well. Madison, you want to do a quick update?
Absolutely. So we have three great players today. We have Geanine Manzioni. She is joining us from Massachusetts, and she is a director of human resources. We have Laura Filer. She is from Pennsylvania, and she is a talent acquisition leader. And finally, we have Casey Botkin. He is born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he is a sales and go-to-market leader. So welcome. It's so good to see all of you again, and we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome. So I like to get things started. First of all, don't be nervous. Here's an opportunity to be human. I know this challenge, and I'm talking to job seekers everywhere, and they're like, no one ever calls me back. I'm not getting the connections. I'm not getting a chance to actually sell myself. And so here is an opportunity to do that. And that's the entire purpose of the showcase, is to select a few people and say, come on, let's be human. Let's have some fun. So, Casey, I want to get you started. I have two questions that I ask, and I'll ask each of you. One is one word to describe the process you're going through. How long have you been out? What's been going on? Everyone out there is going to relate. It doesn't matter whether it's been 2 weeks or 2 years. I think each of you have a unique experience, but then you can share that with others and you can help them. So, Casey, kick us off. Give me that word.
That word's truly intentional.
Okay.
1,000%.
So let's be intentional and describe what you mean by that.
I was waiting for that, right? No. So intentional, right? I mean, my word is you have to be intentional in this market, right? It is not fishing anymore, right? We're still getting, I'm going to speak in sales terms, unfortunately, sometimes, so apologize, but we're getting this inbound lead flow, right? Through recruiters, they're coming in, but I will say the velocity from one stage to the next, I'm not getting those second meetings or even sometimes those third meetings that I'm looking for. There's a lot of those times where it's drying up after that first screening interview or whatever it might be. So intentional is my word. It is being intentional about who I apply or what companies I'm applying with, who I'm reaching out to, and the stakeholders involved, and being intentional about trying to get in front of them. That's the only way that I've found any success so far, but I've been out for about, since the end of October. So coming up on about 3 months now.
Right. So not great, challenging, but great that you're being intentional. One of the things you described is that you're actually getting that first touch with the company. A lot of people aren't even getting that first touch. So what kind of volume of things are you doing, just doing outreach with your resume to get to somebody where you can talk to a human?
Yeah, I mean, since October, I actually posted this a little over a week ago, and since then, I think I've added a few more, but I'm right around 90 applications. I've kind of tiered them off, right? So I have my tier ones, which are like my go-to, my dream companies, my dream roles. I know I'm a great fit.
Yep.
But I also see 1,000+ people in the application pool, right? So those are the ones I'm spending most of my time getting in front of. Yep. My tier twos are more some that a great fit. I'm not so familiar with those companies, but they're in my space. Somebody that I want to get in front of and somebody I want to introduce myself to. And in my tier threes, where the volume of my applications are going, are It's every director, RevOps, sales development, right? It is trying to get some volume and get more conversations. Those are the stats I have right now. I've got about 5 interviews that are going into second and third steps, but that's against a total of 90 applications I've sent out.
Yeah. Well, just the first thing I would say is good job. I mean, I think that it's really hard to get companies' attention, and the fact that you're in that process, I think it shows a little bit in the career area that you've chosen, this idea of being in sales. Companies need salespeople, and there's a lot of AI happening with lead gen, and you're going to deal with that, but you're still going to need the human to actually make those critical decisions, do that problem solving. And so I think you're in a good area, and I think you do need to push. Let's go to Geanine. What's your word?
Video game.
Okay. Wow, that is a first. We've had a lot of different words. We have never had the 2 words video game.
I tried, but you got different levels. You think you played the game before, but there's all new things to pick up, whether that's a weapon, whether that's money, whether that's knowledge, training, introductions, networking. So that was the closest fun one that I could say in my quasi 2 years.
Yeah.
But,
Did I hear you right? Did you say weapon?
you need weapons in your arsenal, Jeff.
Okay. I just want to make sure we qualify that. Give me an example. Give me an example of a weapon. I just want to make sure I'm getting to know Geanine here. So.
Let's go with just basic AI.
Okay.
To know that you need a prompt to
AI
add
weapon.
to AI and how it levels up.
I noticed, I don't think it was on your resume, but I think it was maybe in a LinkedIn post. You said he took a course in AI. So that is a weapon. I think that's a great way to describe it. Laura, how about you?
Well, mine's not as fun as Geanine's, but I would say challenging. I was on the job market for post layoff for about 8 or 9 months prior to this. I took a contract. The contract ended on December 31st, and I'm back again. So, it's just one of those things where, I think it's good to talk about it. There's a lot of community in this because there are so many people that are experiencing this, especially in TA. And it's weird because you see it from both sides, right? Like I've been on the recruiter side and I've been on the candidate side. But it's been challenging, and it's you have to keep pushing and keep yourself motivated and keep positive, really, because it can be, some days can be hard when you're just feeling like your applications are going into a void and you're not hearing from anyone, you're reaching out to hiring managers. So I think challenging is the best word to sum it up.
Yeah, it's interesting that you have this wonderful experience of being able to understand both sides of this process, right? And you can have empathy, right? And also maybe not get quite as frustrated because you understand that there's a numbers game here, and you can see it from the TA side that you've got applications coming at you. It's funny, I just did a post today on LinkedIn where I talked about 1,000 applicants coming into any growth company right now that's got a remote job has 1,000 applicants. And so I did a prompt, and I got a visual for 1,000 applicants going into the TA area. And then, I don't know if you saw that, but and 1 or 2 recruiters, kind of being faced with 1,000 people. It's daunting. All of you are dealing with that, but you've also been in that position, so you know what that's like. We'll talk more about your contract. I think that would be great for people to understand. What's it mean to take a contract, and what are the skills you need to take a contract instead of a full-time position? Let me come back, Casey, to you. Let's counter your challenge. And this word intentional is so good, I think, which is this idea that you're going to make these decisions at the right time, the right way, with your strategy. What's your superpower that goes with that?
Yeah, I think my superpower, and right now, honestly, after, I'll say my last day was October 20th, right? And so my life became chaotic. I think in general, my superpower is being able to turn chaos into, in my professional world, a revenue engine. In my personal life, right, we're still turning it into a functional engine. That really is my superpower. Really good at walking into a a messy motion, unclear definitions, broken handoffs, you name it, and being able to turn it into something that is consistent, driven by really good people.
Yeah. So from chaos to function,
Yep.
I think that's great. And if what would you say? Is there an attribute that fires in that process for you? Are there some character skills that you draw on?
Yeah, there absolutely is, right? And I think, I mean, part of it is, you know, being disciplined.
Yep.
Disciplined is number one, right? I mean, it's very tough to go into a chaotic situation and not have discipline. You can't turn anything into from chaos without that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting for all three of you having discipline in your job search process, and for anybody listening, that discipline and this idea of intention together, I think is great. Madison, I'm going to pull you into the conversation here in a minute. If you have observations, let me go to Geanine and just ask you about your superpower.
Well, first, I could definitely work on Casey's chaos team. I have no fear about chaos. It's just realistic. And it was hard for me to narrow down a superpower, but I went with kind of chameleon because you could drop me in any situation. I'll blend in. I'll have that conversation. I've had almost all my roles have a job description, and then I end up with 2 or 3 other different jobs as I start to embark on the company.
Yeah.
So
I was talking to someone about the idea that the expectations of you and your job, and it's what you do beyond those expectations that I think really defines you. What you just described is something I was going to talk about today, is that as you get that job, what else can you do? What else can you get involved with? Because when you get to your review, it's going to be like, okay, nice job, kind of handling the responsibilities of the role. But then the fact that you ran the community, did the 5K for the company, that you organized everybody, the holiday party was so good, and you kind of orchestrated that whole process. Those are things that are that value add, I think, that actually kind of anchor you in your role. And so I think that's great. I think this kind of no fear of chaos, this is the NFOC, right? I think we
and Laura has a 6-year-old, so that's always chaotic. So, so you have no fear of chaos either.
Yeah, and so I think that's great. And I think being a chameleon, I think the one challenge with that is there's laws of the jungle to blend in to avoid being eaten or to stand out to attract a mate. And without getting too graphic about it, the concept of being a chameleon at times, if you're a chameleon in your job search, you may just be blending in. And so there's got to be those moments where you go to your NFOC, so that you break out of that chaos. And I think that's great. Laura, let's go to you. Superpower.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you said empathy because that's actually what I would consider my superpower is kind of empathy and meeting people where they are. I've done this presentation at multiple companies that I worked at on knowing your audience and really kind of getting to know, paying attention to the small cues, like the first time you have a meeting with someone, finding their interests. I've been able to facilitate meetings at multiple companies, whether they're one-on-one or as a group, that create understanding. And I think that's so important in TA because if you don't know your hiring teams and you don't know your candidates and you don't know what drives them, you're not going to find a good long-term match. So I would say professionally, definitely empathy, meeting people where they are, and then personally, creativity. I have a theme for everything, even play dates for my son. I think creativity also kind of lends itself in my professional environment as well. I've chaired multiple events and volunteer committees and put together holiday parties. So I get to utilize that outlet as well in my professional world.
Yeah, that's great. Let's play for a second here because my initial reaction to empathy is it's such a good skill to have when you're in the environment. It's a great skill for you personally to have while you're in this process because you've been through both sides. We talked about you can see it through their eyes, right? It's not one that fires easily in your job search process. And then you said creativity, and I was like, okay, that's also very strong. And there may be examples of your creativity that would be great stories to tell in your interview process, but they don't typically make the resume. And one of the things that I'm going to start to be much more promotional about Boomband, and because we're just launching now, but the idea of building your dossier is meant to tell these stories. I think about a resume as I have this idea of a thing I do, and then I make it a couple paragraphs, and then I make it a rich sentence, and then I break it down into some performance bullet, and then I turn it into a keyword. And what's on my resume is the keyword, like creativity, but what the hell? Your entire story just got compressed down to a word that just about anybody could have the word, right? And so being able to tell that story about creativity and practicing that, I think, is very important. I think with you in particular, Laura, having empathy and creativity are great. And then what's that third element, like drive or persistence, something that can match your empathy and creativity to kind of push you to get that job? And so that might be, I don't know, but that might be a challenge for you. It's like, how do you talk to Casey about selling yourself, right? And how does Casey use his empathy of knowing about this go-to-market, problem that every company has, and how does he translate that into his superpower? And then I think with Geanine, you're in this spot where you have a very senior job. You've been a director, a regional director of human resources. You need to come in.
Now you're playing the video game.
Right. Well, and
I can go back a level to get better, change direction.
Yeah, I don't mean to talk so much here. I'm just really liking where we are, that in that video game, you're coming in at level 400, right? You're coming in as a VP of HR or director of HR. It depends on the size of the company, I'm sure, right? But they're going to be expecting a portfolio of experience from you. And that's going to be good. So not just managing the chaos, not just blending in, but how do you tell that story in a portfolio way, which is what you're really going to look for in that leader. So let me just get some reaction from you guys, just because you're in the job search. I love this. This is it's 2026. We were just on a call and we said Happy New Year, and the person said, after January 10th, you can't say Happy New Year anymore, right? And it's like, okay, it's a new
still
year,
January.
And it's new push for your job search. So we get some reaction from each of you. Casey,
this
what do you
week
think?
is really when it picked up.
Yeah. Come on.
For 2026. First couple of weeks don't really count. Everybody's still getting back on track, trying to get their goals set up. Positions are opening. So I don't know if you guys have noticed the same thing, but definitely this past week was a big uptick in roles being reestablished.
100%. And I think, it's kind of that, I still have that mentality of, what I put in over 90 days, right, is going to pay off in the next 30 days, right, 60 days. And so I think that's been the biggest focus for me. And what I've seen now is, even this week alone, I feel like a lot of the applications, the people I reached out to early in November or December, are starting to come back around. And I think this week alone, I can add another 3, potentially 4. We're going to lock that in today. New interviews, so net new, awesome. Which is probably more volume than I've had since I left my past role.
Well, especially the way the holiday fell this year too. It was January 5th before you knew it, right? Because you just kind of blinked and here you were. So you did lose a lot of time, and then people kind of getting back into the swing of things. So it's good to see that things are ticking back up. Yeah,
Laura, what are you thinking? That good feedback for you?
Yeah, I think so. I would say that my job search this time, I've gotten a little bit more traction than the last time around when I was off, for quite a few months. I've seen just, more interest in interviewing, because usually I'm a talent acquisition professional. I do well if I interview, and that's not me being egotistical, but I know the game, right? I know the video game. So, I think this time it's been a little bit easier to get interviews than it had been the last time, which is promising.
Yeah, that's good. A couple things I heard just in this little conversation, Geanine, talking about when do budgets really open up. And I think 2025 was interesting, where every company was doing like little AI pilots and saying, okay, will AI be able to do some jobs? And You're getting kind of like the CEO of Shopify saying you need to prove that AI can't do that work before you hire somebody. I think it was very crampy in 2025. There just weren't a lot of new roles that were released, right? But at some point, every company needs to do business. And so I think this is really good for each of you, is that we're going to start to see that release, I think, where there will be some jobs created, but I think it's still going to be a challenging economy in 2026. And so it's going to be really important to be on it when something new comes in. Casey, you mentioned some jobs have 1,000 applications. You're seeing that, for example, on LinkedIn. You can see the count. And there's a challenge on both sides of that. The first challenge is that some companies will turn off the application process as soon as they get 500 or 700 applications. Some after 100, sort of depends on the role, right? And so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to new roles that come in the market and get on those roles, right? On the other side of it, don't be discouraged by larger numbers, because that could be a counting thing where people didn't actually finish the applications. If you're full heart into what you're doing, don't pay attention to those numbers as much as paying attention to make sure you put a quality process into your application process, right?
Yeah. And I think it also has to do a lot with prioritization, right? I mean, when I see those ones, as I mentioned, I kind of tiered my approach off. And so any ones that have 1,000, let's say even 2,000 applicants, that doesn't really scare me off, right? Because there's a reason I want to work for them. But it takes a lot of out of the box thinking and all those tools that come with it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the second phase of the showcase, where we take each of you to the breakout room and have a more personal conversation where we can do some brainstorming together. I think the way I'm going to do it is, Laura, let's take you first, and then you'll come in and tag Casey, and then Geanine will come in the 3 spot. I would like you to, talk amongst yourselves as you're here in this main room, and then we'll all come back and kind of wrap things up at the end. So welcome to the showcase. I'm really have a lot of gratitude for people that actually do this show and are brave and put themselves out there. And welcome to each of you. Let's go to the breakout room.
We'll see you guys at the breakout room.
Welcome, Laura. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Hi,
Good.
Laura. Welcome.
We have sort of a fun format here. Madison, take us away.
Awesome. Well, Laura, it was really great getting to chat with you this week. So I put a little bit together, so we'll see how it goes. You are a people-first talent leader who knows how to build trust, momentum, and results in fast-moving environments. Your career spans executive and technical recruiting, talent leadership, sales, and IT project management, giving you a rare ability to balance strategy with hands-on execution. Highly adaptable by nature, you consistently step into unfamiliar roles and excel when the challenge calls. Back in your project management days, you were nominated and won a scholarship from Global Gaming Women to go ahead and attend their leadership conference, which was pretty cool. You thrive at the intersection of hiring leaders and high caliber talent, defining success profiles, optimizing processes, and delivering a best-in-class experience for both candidates and hiring teams. Your experience at an AI company in Austin really immersed you deeply in emerging technology, and you continue to invest in that growth through AI coursework, leadership reading, and constant learning. Most recently, in your contract role, you came in sharp and confidently built out an entire leadership team. Outside of work, you are a rock star boy mama to your 6-year-old. You're always juggling play dates, being homeroom mom, managing his baseball team, soccer games, and modern dance lessons. And you do all of that without missing a beat. Your planning and execution skills especially shine, like you mentioned, anytime it's time for a party, event, or anything with a good theme. You have a deep passion for volunteer work, and you have chaired events, committees, and even make meals for senior citizens in need. You turn to Orange Theory or hiking to stay grounded and focused, showing grit and determination every single day. You love international travel, and you are especially excited to start doing that with your son so that you can watch him see the world and kind of see it through his eyes. As you look towards your next chapter, you bring proven experience scaling TA functions in private equity and high growth environments, mentoring recruiting teams, and partnering closely with executives to solve complex hiring challenges. At your core, you just don't fill roles, you build relationships, you elevate the teams, and you design talent engines that help organizations scale with confidence. You're truly amazing. So excited to dig in. Welcome to the breakout room, and let's have some fun.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Madison, and I don't think you could have written a better summary. I definitely couldn't have written it myself because it's so hard to talk about yourself, but that was excellent, and I appreciate you both hosting me.
You know, what's
Well,
funny
we're happy
is
to have you here.
yeah, we've had a couple of the guests on the show actually take this little clip and send it with their resumes, a couple things, which has been fun. And one of those guys, Tony, actually got a job, so you know that's a good sign. So, couple things. Anything she missed? Anything that you guys didn't talk about that you want to share?
No, I think that was a great summary. We talked a little bit in the meeting room about, just what amplifies my experience paired with that creativity and empathy. And I think behind all of that is drive. So that's the only other thing that I would add, but that was an excellent summary.
Yeah, good. Tell me about being out and then getting a contract. What was that like? Did you make a purposeful decision to offer yourself up for contracts? Did it come across in your network? I think a lot of people think about this as an option, but don't necessarily know how to start.
Yeah, so I had never contracted before. I'd actually hired contractors for teams, but I'd never done it myself. But I was getting at kind of prefaces where I didn't know what to do because I had been out for 8 or 9 months. I wasn't getting any traction. It was like even when I had referrals, sometimes they were leading nowhere, and it was a tough situation. So I thought I have to get myself back to work and start to get myself to gain experience again, not have my experience get stale. So I started to look at contract work, and that's how I ended up taking it. I started targeting, you can refine your LinkedIn searches obviously, and started refining out the contract opportunities and thinking, maybe this is a better way to step back in.
Yeah, what did you think of it once you were in that role?
It was different. It was different, right? Because I don't remember if I ever had to kind of clock in and clock out every day. You don't have PTO, you don't have the benefits. So it's a very different world from what I was used to. Different relationships that you build in a contract than when you're kind of a full-time internal employee. I obviously was able to do a lot there, but it was just a different situation than I was used to before. It was good. I built good relationships, have hiring leaders that have written me recommendations from that company. And, it was enjoyable experience, but just very different from what I was used to.
Yeah. Did you know that the contract had a certain length?
I didn't. I started to notice kind of like a slowdown in the requisitions coming through. I was getting like 3 or 4 a week, and then around Thanksgiving it started to slow. So I kind of had an inkling that, maybe there was something going on, but my boss told me about a week before the holiday that for Q1 budget, they were going to have to make some cuts. So the contract was going to be ending.
Yeah. Is there an open door to possibly go back?
Potentially, yeah. She said in Q2, if they have budget again, she would call me. So yes, there's an open door there.
Yeah. The nice thing there would be to have the person that hired you say that we would hire them back in a second. It's almost the best reference.
Yeah.
Right. And so, something to think about. And that's something that you earned while you were there. It's not something you can really kind of make up afterwards, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I noticed in your background that you studied forensic science.
I did. I
Where-
did.
Did you want to do something with that?
I did actually. I just took an elective, and this is kind of, Madison and I talked about it. This is kind of how I am as a person. I'm like, this sounds interesting. Let me give it a try. And I love a challenge. So, forensic science was a challenge. It was something I was in PR, and then I moved over, well, first education, then PR, then I moved over to forensic science, all because I thought these things were interesting and didn't really know what I wanted to do as a big kid. So I took an elective. I loved it. My professor said, you do really well. You should really think about this as your degree. And she had told me when it was time to graduate, you really need to get a master's or a doctorate to be able to make any type of money in this field. And I was so tired of being a broke college student. So I said, I got to get out there and get working. It was actually funny because I worked a block from the medical examiner's office at my first job or second job out of college. And I would go down like 3 times a week. And finally, the chief medical examiner let me in and said, I would love to hire you. I appreciate the drive and I know you're here all the time, but the people that we're hiring right now, at that time the economy was bad too. The people that we're hiring right now have master's degrees and doctorates, and we're hiring them as entry-level forensic investigators. So, at some point I kept telling myself, I'm going to go back. But then once you start working and making money, it's hard to take a step back and go back to school. So I just never ended up going back, but it is interesting. And at that time, it was when ground penetrating radar was coming out and all these cool things. So it was like a really exciting time for the field because it was just starting to blossom.
Yeah. So let's think about, what do you want to do now? If you can talk to everybody out there. Do you want a full-time role? Would you pick up another contract? What's ideal?
Yeah, I would kind of do anything. I have that heavy operations background and, sales operations, IT project management. So I think I have a really interesting perspective on marrying the business and the hiring for the business, because I understand what the business needs and understand their pain points. So really, I'm kind of open. I would probably prefer full-time, permanent, because that's how you really make the impact. Like you can build those fundamentals and those building blocks, but if you're not going to be there long term, then it's really hard to like actually make changes in the organization. So preference to full-time. I would be open to contract.
Good. What's activity like right now?
So I have a few interviews set up. And one is actually for a company that's actually not even here in the US. So we're kind of working that out, what that would look like, if it would be a US entity or employer of record. But, I have a few things going on, a few that are interesting to me. So a little bit of traction.
All right. Well, at some point in the breakout, we try to have a little fun. And so I have a couple questions. My first one is, what is your favorite emoji?
Favorite emoji. I like the star eyes emoji. It just it's how I am, right? I get excited about things easily. You can get me to buy in on something easily. So I really like the star eyes emoji.
Awesome. And so where would you use that?
In about any situation, Jeff.
Okay.
Anything that is exciting or that, you feel passionate about, whatever it is, if it's something that you're like, wow, this is cool, it's star eyes emoji.
Yeah, so I have never used the star eyes emoji, so I guess that's where I go. Madison, what's your favorite emoji?
Oh, God. I do, so I go the other way. I like the heart eyes emoji. So I do the heart eye emoji a lot for, things that, you're really passionate about or excited. So I guess kind of the same thing, but. I
don't know what this says about me. I'm like, check. So I respond to a lot because I'm posting every day, and check. I like the rocket.
You do the trophy a lot.
I do the trophy a lot, and that's sort of like kind of giving you the prize if it's a good comment or whatever. Mm-hmm. I like the boom explosion just because of Boomband, so I'll use that sometimes. But now I have 2 more that I got to try. So, and I'm always a little like weirded out. The heart emoji is like, oh, I love that comment, like heart. And then I'm like, I don't know. I think
that just seems so boring, though. You have to go a little more than the thumbs up.
Yeah. Well, if it was monster, I'd do the purple heart. So I would try. That's okay. Like I would try to do something like that. So, all right. Let's see. How old is your son?
He's 6.
Okay. So you don't tell anybody, but you get McDonald's. And what are you ordering for your son? And how much of it do you eat?
Oh, this is a funny one because we're in Pittsburgh, so it's cold here, right? So we can't go to the playground in the wintertime. So I take him to the play place, but I will actually go and get myself food prior to going to the play place. And then I get him his Happy Meal. And he can have the whole thing because McDonald's, other than the Diet Coke, is just not my jam.
Right. Okay, so you'll get a Diet Coke at the play place?
Yes, yes.
That's awesome. So you take your son into the McDonald's play area. I love that.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. You get a
Is he into
chance.
6'7"? Being six, does he think the 6'7" thing's cool?
You know what? I am proud of him. He is not into it. And 6'7" erupted at the play place the last time we were there. And he's like, Mom, this is obnoxious. And I was
Oh
like,
my
I
god.
agree.
I love
Yeah.
it.
I agree.
Yeah, I have 12 and 15 and a couple of days year olds, and 6'7" is like, oh, it's sort of everywhere.
My
All right,
my niece and nephew was they were trying to teach my 2.5-year-old 6'7" over Christmas. And I was like, no, stop. We don't need to teach him that.
We don't need to go there.
So, my next question, and this is interesting with a 6-year-old son. If you could pause time for a year and you could do anything you want and it would be funded, what would you do?
I would take him to another country. I went to Germany when I was in middle school, but my international travel experience was mostly when I moved to Las Vegas and I was on the international sales team. So I got to experience different cultures. And I just think that's so important to give yourself perspective on life, right? And to be grateful for things, to see how other people live and understand them. So I would take him somewhere. I would probably take him. I've wanted to go to Africa, South Africa, on a safari, so I'd probably do that with them because he loves animals, and then maybe some other travel as well.
Yeah, I've got that on my wish list too. I've never been on a safari, and you see these pictures that like are not good about safaris, but most of it I think is like so awesome. And a few people I know have been on them, and it's like it really is neat to see these animals in person. So
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool thing to do with your son.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for just being here, and Laura, I think you're on your way. I think you've got a good plan, and I think your empathy is going to come through. I think in ways that people are going to be excited about, especially when you add the creativity and drive. So let's send you back to the room, and I think you're going to tap in Casey.
All right, great. Thanks so much for
Thanks,
hosting
Laura.
me.
We'll see you back later.
All right, see you soon. Bye.
Hey,
Hey, Casey,
welcome to the
welcome.
breakout.
Hey, Jeff and Madison, thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. So we have a basic format. Madison, take it away.
Absolutely. Well, Casey, you truly have an incredible story. With a degree in sociology and early experience at a behavioral health startup, your career spans nonprofit leadership, enterprise selling, and go-to-market architecture, grounding your work in a deeply people-first mindset. You've led teams from startup to enterprise scale, fueling 5 times company growth and averaging 124% attainment across combined pipeline and revenue goals through disciplined, data-driven execution and global collaboration. You know how to sell and how to build, launching new enterprise channels, modernizing sales operations, and coaching teams to win consistently in complex, high-stakes environments. That is where you shine. Your older brother, who you shared with me, had high-functioning autism, profoundly shaped your life, inspiring your advocacy, public speaking on behavioral health, and then the co-founding of a healthcare and residential services organization focused on independent living. In 2015, your life shifted forever. You relentlessly and heroically performed CPR on your father during cardiac arrest, bringing him back and ultimately saving his life. Then, just months later, you performed CPR on your brother after a seizure and lost him despite doing everything possible. Those 2 moments, one of survival and one of loss, profoundly shaped who you are. That season altered your path and ultimately led you into sales, where you found your stride at Monster and built relationships that still matter today. One of those relationships is actually how you found your way on the show through another player contestant that was on a few weeks back. Creativity fuels you beyond work.
Tony.
Yes, Tony. Tony totally hooked Casey up.
Tony's big personality in the middle of
Yes.
this, so might as well call it out. Sorry,
Yes.
guys.
So no. It's so true though. Tony is such a big advocate of the show, and we love it. Creativity fuels you beyond work, and music is a central thread in your life. You taught to yourself to play guitar by ear, continuing a multi-generational family tradition, from your grandmother's piano to then your father, your brother, and now your 3 children. One of the guitars hanging behind you actually once belonged to your dad, and now it is proudly known as the family guitar on the wall. Whether you're working on your boat, drawing, or designing sales strategies that are uniquely yours, you bring curiosity, care, and full commitment. You thrive in moments of growth and change, and so you are someone that can step into chaos and turn it into a revenue engine, which I know we talked about is your superpower, and I love it. Simply put, you don't just help companies grow, you help them grow the right way with intention, durability, and confidence. Any team would be lucky to have you. I know we're certainly lucky to have you on the showcase, and we're excited to dig in more in the breakout sessions. So welcome.
Oh, no, thank you so much. I just need that as a snippet. That's like my prospecting tool. I just need a recording that. I want to snippet. I'm going to start sending it on LinkedIn. So everybody be ready for that, for sure. Thank you so much.
That's what Tony did. Tony did videos and then sent them out on applications. And,
and hopefully we'll talk a little bit. I mean, it's been awesome working with him and strategizing along the way. But absolutely, there's so much opportunity. It's all about community. It's what you guys are building, obviously. So I'm honored to be here and very, very, very honored to hear my background and my story come out the way it did. So thank you.
Yeah. There's a lot in your story and some emotional parts of that story. And I'm sorry about losing your brother. Amazing that you were able to save your father's life. Boy, is that a moment, right? You know, just generationally, you know, the love for your father and being in that moment. I imagine that was really intense. You're a monster. I always am the same. Thank you for your service. In startingmonster.com, it's we have about 17,000 alumni out there, and I just always embrace the fact that we built this brand together, and so thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to work for Monster. So thank you for building it.
Yeah, couple things I saw. Startup to enterprise seems. Let's talk a little bit about that go-to-market experience. What's different in the startup and what's different at that enterprise level, and where do you like to fit? Like, what would be an ideal role?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my ideal role ideally is, I mean, I've spent really a lot of my time, and my ideal role is really in that early to mid stage environments, right? So I built sales development teams, sales teams from scratch, scaled them globally. That's where I've really found, I think, my love and my passion is really in that development, and not just in the sales org, right? But especially in my past role, I was exposed to all the channels, right? All these divisions, and that light bulb went off. And how do we all work together? That's the question in every company, right? How do we all work seamlessly together? But you know, I quickly found like that is my strength, along with developing reps and coaching. But you know, we got to build the right foundation. And I've seen so many companies that, and companies I've worked for, some on the enterprise level, where that foundation isn't in place. And honestly, for me, I realize my ambitions is truly in building and scaling.
Yeah.
And it changes every day. It's as I mentioned before, chaos, right? There's a level of chaos every single day. I think there's some, I will say, sick-minded people out there like myself that say chaos, let me step right in the middle of it. But that's the biggest differences, right? At an enterprise level, you know, most of the time you're stepping into a process that, you know, you have very limited opportunities to tweak without the seniority, right? You're putting in a lot of work, a lot of years of tenure to try to get that voice. Where I feel at that early to mid stage, I'm way more impactful immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I asked you right before we came on air. I said, "Do you have a college degree?" And you said, "Yeah." And I said, "I was looking at your resume. I actually read everyone's resume, and I noticed on your resume that your college experience wasn't there." And so I asked you and share your answer, which I thought was good and very important for listeners to listen to.
Well, I said, you know, Jeff, you get an A+, you passed my test, you actually read my resume. No,
That is
I
not
should
what you
have.
said.
I should have, but no. What I said was, it was a great moment, a great opportunity to reflect on, honestly, some of the challenges we're having, but also some areas that we need to focus on and make sure that we're dotting every I, crossing every T. The reason, as I explained to you, right, is I customize almost every one of my resumes and tailor it, and I have kind of a blank shell. I just looked, as you said that, right, before we started, I looked at my other resumes. I'm like, well, my college degree's on those. It was moving too fast, and detail that right there. And I'll ask you, Jeff, you get that regardless of my background? That probably shows right there, like, oh, does this guy have all the detail that I'm looking for in this type of position?
So let's first of all, that's a good reflection, right? Let's zoom out for a second, right? A lot of people, as they're applying for roles, are customizing that resume. Maybe for every role, maybe for every few roles. They may be using AI. They may be actually doing it on their own. More and more using AI, and the omission of having your college degree on the resume, which I got, I would say is a foot fault in the idea if a college degree is required for the role. It's not required for about half of roles now. Let's make that clear. But by missing that, even if it's not required, a recruiter or TA specialist is looking at that and saying, okay, no college degree listed. It's a convenient way. If you didn't go to college or you went to, first year or second year of college, but then didn't graduate. And so first for you, I would get that on there because it's a reflection of a commitment and achieving a goal. And also, depending on what you study.
When you and I talked, Tony, or when you and I talked, Casey, Tony on the brain, when you and I talked, that was when it was the first thing that you said. You said, I have a sociology degree. So I knew that because of our amazing, conversation before we came on the show. But yeah, I mean, it's something that
it could have stopped me
you're clearly proud of and you achieved.
Yeah, it could have been a barrier to that as well.
Yeah. And so you just may have missed a few opportunities. And so I think for everybody out there, you're moving fast, you're customizing your resumes. It's easy to have an omission or make a mistake. And you would never know it, but you may be actually getting blocked for stuff. So I would change that right away. I think for others out there, make sure you double check that the basics are in place, your contact information, everyone's moving fast. That's kind of where we are. A couple other things. When I look at your experience and go to market, there's a lot of lead gen companies out there now really touting AI. Talk about your experience with AI. Could be personal, could be through work. And how do you deal with the fact that in some roles, they're going to be looking to reduce sales staff with the idea that getting AI to do some of those tasks?
Yeah, no, 100%, right? So I've obviously lived and breathed AI, especially for the past few years, knowing that it was going to be very revolutionary, especially in my world, right? I'm sitting in the middle of the funnels. So there's AI platforms coming from marketing, from operations, from our channel, alliance teams, our sales teams. Once again, it really came back to how do we create a scalable playbook, right? That leverages AI and also helps us to, for me, it was all managing. I've always had this AI as supplement first mentality, right? It's a supplemental tool. Right. It's a superpower if we use it right. So where I focused most of my time, obviously for me, building, using it to help build workflows, get suggestions on how to automate different features, to, be able to bring different tech stacks together. That was one of the first ways I started using it. It helped me, who I feel I'm pretty tech savvy, be able to up level my game and have more relevant conversations with the right people to make change happen. So internally for a business, I mean, we use that all the time, right? We also were able to build that out to a scalable playbook, but more importantly, empowering my reps to start building that, right? We use that playbook as a foundation. I was able to share my GPTs with them and say, hey, let's build this. Let's get results. And let's make sure that we're using every bit of this, whether it be more research, enrichment, right? For me, my team playbook, right? Automating my stats and everything else I wanted to keep. So it really empowered me and it empowered my reps to really have what we consider in the sales world, like you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset. it's
Yep.
given us that tool. However, yes, it's impacted, I think, my world heavily with a lot of AI SDRs and different platforms. I feel like, the biggest there's a lot of companies I've seen that have made just full jumps into AI, right? And what I'm seeing now are they're starting to come back around. It's great. My next door neighbor has a brand new Corvette that I would love to drive. People don't know this. I'm like 6'5". I don't fit in those very well. And B, it's a stick shift, and I'm probably going to break that car, right? And so,
Yeah.
you have to train the people to drive those types of cars, or at least you've got to practice, right? I'm not taking
Right.
that as my daily driver. But it's the same with AI, right? It is training, and it's so funny. I've helped people, and even some of my close friends that have been impacted get jobs by creating some very, really unique one-pagers to send to recruiters, things like that. And they're like, how did you do that? How long did it take? It took me 5-10 minutes. But I have been working with AI for, thousands of hours probably over the past 3 years in training it and making sure it's right. But, that's really how I use it. It is a superpower, but it's not the overall answer.
No, I think just the fact you talk about sharing your GPTs, I think that's actually cool. I'm assuming you like ChatGPT. Do you use any other
Yeah,
ones?
no, I like ChatGPT. I think that's what I started, so I became more familiar with that tool.
Yep.
However, I use everything from Claude to Grok. All the standard platforms I have used in one instance or the other. But at the end of the day, I do pay for a pro version of GPT, which. What I'm starting to see is they're doing a great job of bringing in different platforms and starting to leverage that. So I'm kind of giving the best of all the worlds there.
Yeah, it's great. I use Claude. I always, if people are learned on ChatGPT and have never experimented, I would say bridge over and try it. But at the same time, ChatGPT is getting to know you, and it starts adding value, and it's tough to kind of trade that value. I think it's a stickiness that makes it tough to.
It is, but I use Claude, and this is where it still expedites my time tremendously. But what I typically do, my workflow on that personally is, I'll use GPT, take that, especially if it's a writing sample, something I want to send to somebody, then I put it into Claude and say, all right, clean this up. Which, gosh, still, it takes less time than running spell check on Word, right?
Oh, yeah. I think you're on point with that. I think Claude is really good for writing. It's really good for framing stuff. And it also looks good, the format that they use. And so, I think it's great. I also I think it's good to explore the values connection that Anthropic has when you're exploring a deeper subject, to go take ChatGPT's approach to it and then see what Claude's approach is to it, and then juxtapose it to. A lot of times I'm comparing and saying I like this, one or the other. Let's have some fun here. I really appreciate that answer, by the way, Casey. I think that sort of comfortable nature around technology, I think, comes through, and I think that's something that almost every interviewer is going to be exploring that with you and thinking about that in the go-to-market flow. Let's have some fun. You're at a small party, 5 couples. 2 of the couples get up and start dancing. What's going through your head?
Let's party.
All right.
For them, they're having a good time. They kicked it off.
You're probably breaking out your guitar and you're going to be playing music, right?
I forget sometimes. Like I've already forgot a couple times that this is going to be out there in the public, right? But
It's fine.
That just keeps my filter off at the moment. So what's funny is I met my wife at a country line dancing bar. It was her first time there. I figured out when it opened about 6 months earlier, like the ratio for myself was phenomenal. And if I learned how to dance, or at least, these step-by-step things, I've got some opportunity there. I've got more skills in my pocket, right? So, I would get up there, and sure enough, she will tell people that story. And the first thing they say is, can you go do a line dance? I'm like, nobody wants to see this guy who's 6'5" and can't really dance. Step in different directions.
Did you wear the cowboy hat and the cowboy boots too when you were out there?
So this was 2014, 15. So it was like the Luke Bryan backwards hat type of thing, But I did. my next commission check after that place opened, you better believe I had some amazing cowboy boots. Amazing cowboy boots.
Yeah. Well, that was intentional, right? You learned those dances. Which dance do you like?
Oh gosh. So I would say the best dance that I like is probably the watermelon crawl. It's the easiest one that I know.
Okay, and what is there a basic move?
There kind of is, right? It's more of that right foot stomp, left foot stomp, and if you've got the right cowboy boots on, it hits hard, right? Just slap in the foot.
Yep.
And then it's what you call a K step. So K step that way, I can literally say, I mean, if my wife was like standing here and we rewind 10 years ago, it was her standing there, me acting like I didn't notice her and going, and you're following me. K step that way, come back. K step this way, come back. Right.
I love it.
And then I told her
I like the Cotton Eye Joe. I think that's always a good
that
one.
one's a little too fast. I start.
Yeah. Oh, that one gets fast, but it's fun.
If you're follically challenged like I am, you learn real quick. Like
Your hat's flying.
yeah, like all right, I can't do this. So yeah, I'm partying. That's gonna be a good time. That's what's going through my head is good for that.
Yeah. So my question of the day for all the guests is, if you could pause time for 1 year and you were funded, what would you do? And then let's unpause, and how would you add that experience?
Ooh. If I could pause everything for a year and I was completely funded.
And funded to do what that was.
My goodness, that's a great question, honestly. Fun to do whatever it was. Honestly, I'd pack the family up. We'd get the coolest RV ever and travel the world. Travel the country for sure. But we would expand that, I think, over a year into global travels, which really I've yet to do to the degree that I truly want to. So I think travel, family, sightseeing, and to be honest with you, somebody asked me a real similar question a while back. They're like, money doesn't matter. Next job, what would you do? And he said, I asked him first because I was like, oh boy, trapped. He said, well, I'd put shopping carts. I was like, now, I'd probably be a great philanthropist and find a way to give it all away and figure out a smart financial person to keep that interest moving. I mean, what better feeling could you get, right? So those are kind of my two things there.
Yeah, that's great. So, Casey, I want to thank you. I've actually really enjoyed getting to know you through Tony. He really said you were a go-to person for him. You guys worked on the same sales team together. And it sounds like you've got good activity.
Four times, right? No, 3 times.
Three. Yeah, took a small break from each other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
They keep
I know
following each
Tony just got a job on the show, or he would credit at least partially that. So maybe you'll find a way to where he's going now. So that's
hey,
cool.
That's what I said. I was like, maybe the fourth one you'll follow him there.
I think there's good when you find somebody that you work well with, and Tony, I've worked with him 3 times, but he was also my boss's boss, right, at a previous world, Monster. So obviously I have a lot of respect for him, but as we've really genuinely built this relationship, I think that's where both in our career paths we started to find this synchrony. Me more so that top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and him on that bottom of the funnel, and really, in my opinion at least, showcasing the right relationships that our different worlds should have, and what they can do when we put them together with the right people, the right process.
All right, go tap in Geanine. Casey, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See you back in the Bay. Hey, Geanine, welcome to the breakout room. We're happy to have you.
Hi, Madison. Hi, Jeff.
How you doing? Welcome. All right, we have a format we use for this. So, Madison, take us away.
Let's do it. All right. So you are a seasoned people-first HR leader with more than 20 years of experience guiding organizations through growth, change, and complexity across U.S. and global operations. You bring a rare balance of strategic partnership and hands-on execution, aligning HR, talent compliance, and technology to business goals while keeping culture and people firmly at the center. As you mentioned earlier, you are a true chameleon. You adapt seamlessly in any role, quickly becoming the go-to leader, trusted to wear multiple hats taking ownership, and you move critical work forward. Your dynamic background, beginning in the insurance industry and hospitality, shaped you into a well-rounded HR leader with deep expertise in benefits, health insurance, and compliance. You've also been at the forefront of HR technology evolution, leveraging generative AI and LLM tools to improve data integrity, decision-making, and talent processes. That same precision and advocacy carries into your personal life as well. Over the past year, you've served as your father's dedicated caregiver, coordinating his medical care and navigating complex insurance needs with clarity and care. Helping people is really your calling. You're a proud dog mom to Ella, your lab shepherd mix, and she is a certified good canine companion. So you and her together go and volunteer at rehabilitation centers, retirement communities, and hospice walks, bringing comfort, connection, and calm to others. Creativity and care also show up in your kitchen, where you love baking, cooking, mixology, and perfecting anything from homemade blueberry banana bread to your signature espresso martinis. As you look towards your next role, you're seeking a mission-driven company that values thoughtful leadership and modern HR practices. You see the small details that make the biggest difference, pulling the puzzle together so that organizations run smarter, more efficiently, and more human. At your core, you bring order to complexity. You use data, technology, and heart to build organizations that are really ready for what's next. Let's dive in more. So great getting to know you, and welcome to the breakout room.
Thanks, Madison. I feel like you've been there all 20 years.
Anything she missed? Anything that you want to highlight?
I don't know, Jeff. It's funny. Every time I talk to somebody on an interview, I remember some other little piece of training or grants or any kind of engineering infrastructure that I've been able to coordinate with, work with SharePoint. So you name it, it's a topic I've been through.
Yeah. So I had a couple of questions. One is, I saw you've worked in insurance and retail and restaurants, manufacturing, software, engineering, technical roles.
A chameleon.
Is there an industry that you really have fallen in love with in the middle of this? One of the things I really want to do in this breakout is position you for the right opportunity. And so I'd like you to share a little bit about, okay, this is my ideal situation beyond mission driven, which is obviously very important.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because, of course, I popped into a place for lunch yesterday, and you can't turn yourself off. You try, right? Even if you want to take a break. Yep. Especially being human resources. So folks behind the restaurant were talking a little bit about their benefits, and obviously things increasing this year. And when 08 got a little quiet, I actually learned the whole side of Medicare, which you don't see a lot in the business place. But I can't be in a CVS line or out somewhere and have somebody have those questions and concerns and not be able to help them on the right track. So I think knowing the unknown that other people might miss in that benefit in healthcare, and even like Madison was saying, with the past few years where I've been able to help folks with Alzheimer's, whether they were friends or family, really that caregiving, that healthcare is huge to me, with a second focus on technology, because I like taking a company that doesn't know where to start or how to get up to date and just take their model and understand why they didn't update their technology, and hold their hand and go, it's okay. We're going to do it together. It's going to be great, and it's going to save you time. So those are the two ends that are the biggest interest to me in this market.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your life experience and expertise is coming through. I think there could be another superpower here, that your breadth of experience and knowing the unknown is actually, there's the known, there's the unknown, and then there's sort of in that unknown, the known unknown, and then there's the unknown unknown, right? And
that
so
I find,
if you can know, I think I got those sort of right. If you can sort of know things that are unknown, you can bring real resources to the table. And I'm, director of HR, senior HR, manager, leader, and then regional director of HR. Let's just talk about that for a minute. What does that mean to be a regional director? And were there other locations that also had directors? So you had peers. How'd that work?
Yeah, my peers were in other countries because I was of the Americas in my last role. So
Yep.
we had 3 physical locations in 3 different states here. Then we had service teams in Brazil, Mexico, Canada. So it was a little bit of everything. I got my global taste, I guess, at the job before because they had just done a merger and had UK, Romania, and Spain. So it was really great to understand those cultures, to grow those other locations. But at the same time, you got to keep up with everything going on over here with the home base. So, yeah, and my boss was in Germany at my last role. We had peers in Italy. You name the country, there was a global manufacturing there.
What's the environment out there like right now for HR? I have a sense.
I think I'd say the biggest tough part is actually the connection. And even as some of my other players today were saying, really understanding where you are in that market, because we could be on an interview right.
Some of my other players, I like love that.
try
Like,
it.
you got it, Geanine, right?
The Boomband lingo.
Man, I spin. I got a good spin, no matter what it is. You got to see. I could do that for Boomband. No. So with everybody that I'm interacting with for different jobs, HR has a couple of stumbling blocks. Number one, non-revenue producing. So they don't always understand what they're missing, and they let jobs go for like 18 months, sometimes 24. So I'm interviewing, and that's the case at a lot of these companies. They have no urgency to put the person in. Another job I just had, they said, oh, we were supposed to put an HR director in probably about 5 years ago. And they're just getting around to actually making it actionable now. Everybody's kind of splitting up the role. And the tough part is because we don't produce revenue right away, that it's an expense. And companies are looking at expenses and bottom lines a lot more in these past couple of years. And I'd say just the final thing is just titles. So you guys are going by like my last title, okay, Regional HR Director for Americas. That was great. But some companies, that's the same responsibilities as a senior HR manager. It could be just a technology manager.
It depends on the
HR,
level size of the company. Yeah.
So you can't really change your title because then they're verifying that back on a resume, but at the same time, you're trying to update that cover letter or send a message or get them to understand why I'm right for their pain points and how I can come in and hit the ground running when they have an idea of, oh, I just want an HRBP.
Yeah. There's a HR pivot group in Boston. What town are you in?
Yeah, I'm coming on the 29th. Are you going to be on the next one?
So that's Andrew Sterling's group.
Yep. Andrew and Mike from Lockton and Nagler.
I went and I don't typically go to it, but I went and spoke at it, and I had an evening with the crew, which is great. I got to know a bunch of really nice people there. I was going to recommend if you weren't involved with that to get involved, which is great.
No, I had that sneak preview of Boomband in that office in Lockton's Boston office.
That's
so.
Good.
Yep, I was there.
Good. Let's talk about your caregiver experience. What do you say on LinkedIn? Are you on a career break?
Madison and I were talking a little bit about that. It's really tough to indicate the words career break because of bias and because of what everybody's interpretation is. So what I've kind of done with my resume and not so much LinkedIn is kind of dictate it as family medical leave, that I'm taking my own leave to care for a family situation, and then try to work in that that's now stabilized. But I had to put together, federal, state, local resources, when you're organizing paperwork, caregivers, grants, qualifications, there's a lot of programs that you're talking about that people don't even realize are out there until you dig. And even Massachusetts.
I'm a huge advocate I don't like career break. I think if you're a stay-at-home mom or dad and you're raising a couple of human startups and you're off for 7 years, you're not on a career break. You're a CEO of a household, or you pick the title. You're a general manager. There's so many things that you are in that scenario. And So one of our big kind of advocacy areas is the idea that when you're doing a caregiver role, that you're actually building skills and abilities that are maybe unlike any others that you've done in your career, and that those should be added to your full profile of yourself, your full dossier. And so we've been a huge advocate that you score those things. And what I mean by that is pick the attributes that and the skills and abilities that actually fire when you're doing all that research, kind of taking care of your dad.
Everything you've been doing for your dad too with insurance, and that's in your wheelhouse, right? The benefits, and that's what you do as a director of HR. So you weren't ever on a break, right? You were just doing it for your father versus doing it for a company. So it's so important to celebrate that.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I think when you're in family medical leave, there could be an implication there that it's you. Right, like, and it's just your way of describing that, right? And so some might shy away from that, and that's unfortunate, right? Because they shouldn't. So I think the idea is it's very important, and I don't have the answers, right? But it's very important that you're able to present the experience that you have in this time and how valuable that is. And there was no break at all. In fact, I learned more in this time period. Yeah. So that's just, a suggestion. I was also.
It is personal too. Sometimes you don't want to discuss those specific details. It's easier to say caregiver with family than to specifically call out a relative, and that relative is navigating their own challenges. Same with Alzheimer's, because it comes on kind of slow and then can really take a nosedive. They don't want to lose that control. They don't want to lose that independence. None of us ever do. So it's really something that I try not to focus on, but say, to your point about the skills, I think that's a great point. You have to organize multiple things that you may not have that information about. And you're taking all of that information and having to go through those tasks and create that list. You're still working. Same with a mom,
Yeah. Yeah, I lost my dad to Alzheimer's, and it's a journey, and you have so many different emotions that fire, and so many different learnings. And I was lucky enough; I had my sister who went and lived at my parents' house, and my mom passed away of lung cancer, my dad of Alzheimer's, and through that 5-year period, my sister did this work, and
labor of love,
like an angel.
Labor of
love. And so the learnings for her was one of the things when I was thinking about this business, that she could not work a full-time job because she was taking care of both my parents. And so it's just, first of all, it's a wonderful experience to have, just to be close with your dad in that scenario. And I agree with you that some of it is personal, and you may want to make that private, but the learnings from it, the skills associated with it, I think should be part of a picture of what you're like. That's my commitment.
Yep. And the running thing with me too was I always worked 2 jobs for the first probably 15 or so years. So that was a lot of hospitality, a lot of server, and you don't put a lot of that on your regular resume, but it does help you. Like when I did insurance, when I was working through CIP, I was that niche in that restaurant hospitality market because I understood how it worked, and I could help their systems. So I guess in my next challenge, it's really hard to figure out that exact industry, because to me, they're all the same. I'm gonna fit my model to whatever their agenda is now and how they need to succeed, because I've done so many. That's how I can adapt.
Yeah, so let's just hit AI for a second. I my initial pass on your resume was I didn't see AI, and then I saw you have a little thing that says Gen AI LLM, which is in a very small bullet set. And then I saw that you took a really cool, collaborative team culture, with AI. And I almost think that that's the kind of thing for you now leading out, that you should be spending. You don't have to do anything, but the opportunity to spend time with AI every day, both enhancing your job search, but also building up that set of skills and that muscle, so that when you get to an interview, you're saying, well, have you thought about doing this or thought about doing that? And that coursework is great. And I would even do more of it, right? Like while you're out, just, like that's I always say break your day out. You know, in the mornings you're looking for potential job opportunities, in the afternoon you're applying to jobs. But take that 2 hour block and do that education time for yourself to make sure that you're upskilling. Whether you're in the job or whether you're outside the job, that upskilling is a personal responsibility. So that's great. Let's switch gears. I think you're at that level where you can be a coach. What advice do you have for Gen Zers entering the workforce? I'm sorry, it's not a really funny question, but so relevant, I think, and you may have some thoughts on it.
So I got a couple of pieces on that, maybe not even very specific to necessarily Gen Z, because I remember those folks that are just entering the workforce and being in retail, that was always the biggest challenge, similar to a career break. They don't have that necessary skill set, but they volunteered, they worked on sports teams, they were a part of different groups. You know, what was their role in there? What did they do? How are those skills usable later? So one of the conversations I had earlier today was just, you have to be open. I wish my 20-something-year-old self would have taken just be open to anything. Because we all have these ideals where it's like, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. But sometimes the best opportunity is right in front of us, or right next to us, and we're steering only forward with these blinders on. So I think look at every opportunity as something you could learn, somebody you could get to know, something that might be relevant later on in the future, because it's not just about this exact moment where everybody kind of gets caught up in TikTok reels or finding an influencer or somebody they can follow. You have to define yourself by being open to so much more that's going on in the world. I work part-time with mostly 17 to 25-year-olds right now, and just basic things like, you know...
What's the job?
Oh, I kind of supervise, host in the restaurant, just in the front of the restaurant, keep things going. So, yeah, it is. But seeing the things that they don't know about from history, or even something as recent as like January 6th, and not understanding what happened through there, it's really seeing, you know, even as parents, you guys have such a piece of responsibility to give these folks the full view, because they're only getting a snippet. So I think that job seekers, whether it's Gen Z or whether it's even, you know, the alphas or anybody coming in now, just be open. Yeah, I know you have your thoughts and they're great because we want to hear them, but let's be open to that conversation and be open to what's going on around you besides what might be on your phone.
Yeah, be open to the video game.
You don't know what's in the next level.
Play the video game.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I would want to go back and do better.
Do you have a favorite video game? Are you a gamer, or did you like that analogy?
I actually am not. It's funny because I figured you guys were going to do that. So I had a couple of roommates that were like RPGers and had to do the whole role play and stuff. And back in my day, you know, I date myself a bit too much by saying what video games I was into back then. But it was actually something that my mother and my sister and I used to compete over in the very beginning. And now none of us like really play games unless you're at like an old school arcade and you're pulling out Pac-Man or something, you know?
Yeah. One more question. This is my theme for today, is that if you could pause your life for a year and you could be fully funded in whatever you wanted to do, what's the thing that you would do?
Oh, see, that's probably my same as my lottery question. Everybody that I worked with that was either a hard worker, a good thinker, a very caring person, I'm sending them a FedEx to have a luncheon, and we're going to create both philanthropy and a company at the same time, and really take all those hardworking skills and put them together and have people you enjoy coming to work with, because you can succeed in anything with that. So I would travel, I'd probably do stuff with animals or even the Alzheimer's, and, you know, kind of incorporate it all. I love culture. I was lucky for my school gave 52 flags to 100 and something graduates, because that's how many countries were represented where I went to school in Chelsea. So it was really great to learn that at a young age.
So,
Jeff, what would you do?
Great question.
We haven't heard your answer.
One second before. So you'd create a virtual company.
Yeah.
Like you'd bring people that you care about together to create a company, and sort of like you're saying, I don't really care what we do. Well, whatever we do, it'll be successful.
100%. both in
So
philanthropy
cool.
and in making money. Because think about all the people that worked hard for you. I mean, you're pulling some of that together now in your current company, but everybody has those people that are either the great manager, the hard worker, or even the person that organized all the activities and brought donuts and baked goods, you know.
Yeah.
You need each one of those. And once you're in the same room together and you all have the same ethic and work, you can do anything.
Yeah.
Isn't that the president and the cabinet? You surround yourself with a cabinet that really does well.
Yeah,
Then you succeed.
maybe we leave the politics out, but the idea of having that blue sky opportunity with people you care about,
Yeah.
so
Awesome,
good.
right?
I think as a
That's
dream.
really cool.
All right, what would I do? I mean, I really I've traveled in I think just about exactly 50 countries, but I've done it for business.
Yeah, yeah.
Like so, I've seen a plane, a taxi, a hotel, a conference room, like talk
In and
to
out, yep.
3,000 or 10,000 people, and then I'm back out. And so I've spent a lot of my world travel in what I would call process management, not in actually exploring the wonders of the world. So I think that's one of the things I would do. Um, I I want to go fossil hunting, and I want to do fossil hunting the way I would do it. I want to go, research in North or South Dakota or wherever it is in the Badlands somewhere down in South America where there are dinosaur bones, and buy a property. Get the trekking equipment, get the big backhoe, and actually look for T-Rex bones. Or like that's one of the things that's on my bucket list to do, and it's not an easy thing to do because to really do that well, even now as a toy thing, would be probably 3 weeks off from in the middle of our startups and everything we're doing. So I've liked fossil hunting since I was a kid, and I've never fulfilled that, I guess. So that would be one of the things I would do. So, Geanine, I have enjoyed getting to know you in a few different capacities. You showed up at our virtual holiday party for job seekers and had some fun, and it sounds like you were at the pod event that I was at, and so we're running into each other, and I'm proud of you and kind of what you're doing, and I see that you're working your network, which I think is great, and taking risks, and I think you're going to be successful in finding the role, and I just want to wish you good speed in that, and with that, thank you for
Thanks,
being
Jeff.
on the showcase,
Yeah, it's
and
all
let's
about
go back.
timing.
So great getting to know you.
Let's go back to the main room. Welcome back to the main room of the showcase, Madison.
You guys made it. It wasn't scary, right? You did it. You guys all did great. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious. I'll sometimes recap. Well, what did you take away from doing this? Anybody?
Yeah, I think it's a great platform, especially, as we talk about human resources and what puts the human element in that. I think this is a great way to kind of reconnect people and put a face to the name. And like you said, give a holistic picture of who a candidate is. I also loved, just having conversations with Geanine and Casey in the room. It was kind of nice to just connect with people that are going through the same thing that you're going through. Like I said, there's a lot of community in this. So we had some great chats, and I think this is awesome. I think, you guys should definitely keep up with this because it's a great experience.
Thank you. I always want to know, like, what are you guys talking about in there? It's like, do you say like, oh, it wasn't so bad, it'll be fine,
Do you come back and be like, what did they ask you? What was the
are we
question?
moral support for one another?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Casey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, quite literally, I got a college education out of it on paper, at least, right? I shared that flaw, across the board. But I think it's important, right? I mean, this is also something that, and I reflected in one of my last interviews where they asked me, that magic question of, hey, if there's something your last boss would say or something you would say about yourself that you can improve, right? I move too fast. I need to slow down and make sure that those I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. But even more so, don't be afraid to ask somebody for a second look, right? Pass that on. Whether it's I'll probably use Tony a lot for that. No, but there's a lot, and I think this is something that, Laura, as you were talking, Jeff, what we were talking about there, back there is 100% that. We were given tips and tricks, and have you tried this? And I got some great takeaways, from both conversations. So it takes a community, it takes a village for sure, and ask people for help. Have them check your resumes, check your post.
Yeah, I think especially when you're using AI, the idea that all of a sudden you got a complete blind spot and there's something that's probably very AI sounding. And I was talking yesterday about someone that was English as a second language. Very, very difficult to say, oh, that sounds sort of like non-human, very AI-like or whatever. And this challenge of double checking. Like if you're going to use an AI buddy to help you, I know this is true with all of our full stacks, is that they're using either Cursor or Claude Code or whatever their favorite is. But you have to become an editor because it'll write the code. But you need to be able to go back in and be quite detail oriented about it. And I think, Casey, your example is probably more common than not, where you're compiling new resumes for new targeted opportunities, and it's compiling it, and you're like, "Yep, looks good. It looks like my normal resume." And then you're going to be in an interview, and someone's going to say, "Oh, you have 15 years of ChatGPT experience," and you're going to be like, "Oh, AI must have written that, right?" And like that's a bad spot in an interview,
it is,
right? Because that's.
Let me send my V22 version, right? Because that's where I'm at.
Yeah, but that's you want to make sure that you own it, right? And so I think that's a good lesson there. Geanine, what are thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's great to hear the perspective of what others pick up on. I think one of the hardest things in this market right now is not having an understanding of the hiring team, or if you don't personally know the initial recruiter. So we used to be in a world where there was a lot of recruiters and you built relationships and they marketed you, or they spoke to the hiring manager or the HR partner. So they could give you a little bit more than just your resume, kind of how, when we get to have a conversation with Madison. So it's great because they pull out a lot of stuff that you might not observe. Like
they fight for you.
And they know you. So you're not just, everybody has bias. The first person that tells you that they don't have a bias, unfortunately, is unaware. They're not self-aware that they have one. But we all do, based on our environment, who we hang out with. So understanding that and being able to kind of look at it and see what you guys see is really beneficial, whether it's in the one-off conversations or even the group, to kind of say, ooh, maybe I could position that differently, or look at that differently, or that's how you understood it. I really meant it to be like this. So I wish there was more dialogue in the process, but unfortunately I've had those recorded interviews. Have any of you done those? Not fun at all.
Yeah, I personally was fascinated by it. I did the Mercor case study, and I did it on purpose just to get through the process, and I liked it, but the rest of the team did not. And so, I think there's a lot of people that don't like the idea of being interviewed by a robot.
Did you have an avatar though? Did you have a fake AI avatar?
I didn't just have voice. I had an actual person that was chatting with me the whole time.
And I would have liked that more, I think. It was just, they
pausing,
automatically recorded it. Here's the question. Now record your response in 30 seconds or 45 seconds.
So I think it's coming. There's a lot of people that like the convenience of being able to do it. If you're at your best at 11 o'clock at night or at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're able to do the interview, what we're finding is that this 24/7, 365 of this sort of assessment is actually, that convenience factor actually gets responses faster. I think we're seeing more and more acceptance, every day. Do you remember it used to be like, oh, that person has 5-6 fingers. That M dash, you just know it. And every day that stuff just gets better to the point where now it's like that human connection becomes really important. And that idea that you can wave your hand in front of your face that, I'm real, right? These are all kind of tricks of the trade, I think, that we're enjoying. I want to just take a moment and say I have a lot of gratitude for each of you being on the show. This is sort of our gift. It's our way of trying to authentically present the idea that we're all humans, and the digital void the digital void is just sucks. And I know we can do better, and we'll figure out ways to do that. But in the meantime, it gives you guys a chance. So for Geanine, for Laura, for Casey, if you want to hire these guys, this is your opportunity. If you go to showcase@boomband.com, you can ask for their backgrounds. They are all on LinkedIn. You can find them. We actually do promotion for the show and put links to their areas. Very soon, we'll have all of your dossiers on Boomband. But for now, I just want to say thank you for being on the show and good luck with your job search.
Good luck, you guys. It was so good
Thanks,
getting
Jeff.
to know all of you.
Thank you.
All right, what a great show. I love hearing the stories. I like getting human. Get out from behind that resume and meet our players. If you're interested in any of them, email us at showcase@boomband.com. And give me a sign that you love your life. Come see us next week.